In late September of 2015, Edward Keitzes, one of the showrunners behind Once Upon a Time, teased something that had never fully materialized in the show's fairy tale universe before: a same-sex love story. Just a few days earlier, the other showrunner of the show, Adam Horowitz, had revealed that Jamie Chung, who played Mulan, the show's only queer character so far, would also be returning. And all of a sudden, the internet lit up with hope. Was Mulan finally getting a happy ending? The excitement was building as fan theories doubled by the day. Tumblr went into overdrive. And then on April 17th, 2016, the wait was over. The lesbian storyline finally aired. And well, it wasn't quite what people expected. Ruby Slippers, the 18th episode of Season 5, saw Ruby, aka Red Riding Hood, fall in love with Dorothy. Yes, that Dorothy from Oz. And people had thoughts. Quite a lot of it, actually. You see, at this point, I was very deep in the Once Upon a Time fandom. I was a part of multiple Facebook groups, and I was lurking on Reddit and Twitter, reading every post about every episode and theories. It was a big part of my life. I wasn't just watching the show, I was also watching the fandom react in real time. And the reactions? Some called the storyline lazy, some went full ew lesbians, because of course they did. Others mourned the lost potential of Mulan, the only openly queer character up to that point, who has seemingly been written off without a second thought. And sure, some fans generally appreciated seeing a lesbian love story on their favorite show, but if you zoomed out, the general response was mixed at best. So why did this one-off love story between Ruby and Dorothy land with such a weird thump? Well, to understand that, we have to look at the episode itself. A quick recap, if you may. I will go into the recap assuming you know the show's basic premise. You know, Storybrooke, the curse, Regina's mothering, and just a general knowledge of who's who. So before this episode, the last time we saw Ruby was in the Season 3 finale. She was attending baby Neil's naming ceremony, and then in Season 4, she kinda disappeared. It was later revealed that she had somehow found a bean, and she told Snow that she was using that bean to go back to the Enchanted Forest to find her pack. Mulan, on the other hand, was heartbroken when she found out that Aurora, the woman she loved, was pregnant with Prince Philip's child. She leaves Aurora without telling her about her feelings and then joins the Merry Men. Which is weird because when we see the Merry Men again in Season 4, she's not with them. With this history established, we come to the episode we've all gathered here to discuss. Ruby Slippers begins with Ruby finding herself in the underworld because she gets swept up by a tornado. Snow, Emma, and the others see her, and she reveals to them that she got there because she was pursuing Zelena with a tracking spell. She says that Zelena has ruined her friend Dorothy's life, and she's there to fix it. Flashback reveals that Mulan and Ruby encountered Dorothy when Toto randomly wandered up to them. Dorothy and Ruby start off on a rocky road, but when Zelena kidnaps Toto because she wants Ruby's silver shoes, Ruby decides to help her. They decide to make Zelena fall asleep using poppy seeds, so while Mulan prepares the potion, Ruby and Dorothy go off to find some poppies. On the journey, Ruby and Dorothy get to talking. Dorothy mentions that the only person who truly understood her was her Aunt Em, and Ruby says that she also has a problem being understood, and once in her wolf form, she accidentally ate her boyfriend. After getting the poppies, Mulan and Ruby have a private chat where Ruby reveals that she had a genuine connection with Dorothy, and Mulan encourages her to tell Dorothy about her feelings. When Ruby goes to check on Dorothy, she has disappeared. Now back in the underworld, they find out that Zelena put Dorothy under a sleeping curse, and only true love's kiss can wake her. Zelena also hands over the silver slippers to Regina. Ruby tells the gang about Auntie Em, who they find out is still down in the underworld operating a diner. Before they can get her help though, Once Upon a Time's worst villain, Hades, kills Auntie Em, and now the gang's back to square one. Devastated, Ruby cries to Snow about how she may never see Dorothy again, and how she's failed her, to which Snow tells her that Ruby should be the one to kiss Dorothy. Snow says that love is scary, and all the care Ruby's showing for Dorothy is love, and love will always win in the end. Ruby, nervous, agrees, and Snow and her go back to Oz, where Mulan and the Munchkins are all waiting with a sleeping Dorothy. Ruby kisses Dorothy, and Dorothy wakes up as Snow and Mulan watch from the sidelines. Okay, recap over. It wasn't just the general audience that was mixed on this episode. The critical response was also mixed. While most critics praised the show for introducing a lesbian storyline, they also criticized the way it was done. In her review of the episode for IGN, Amy Radcliffe said, "Ruby was wedged back into the picture with mixed results. Her return presents the opportunity for a fun team-up with her, Mulan, Snow, and Dorothy, but her relationship with Dorothy happened too quickly to be believable. While Andrea Towers of Entertainment Weekly said in her review, "I'll give them kudos for how they handled tonight's reveal of Ruby and Dorothy's feelings and subsequent kiss. It was respectfully handled, emotional, and well done." There were generally three types of criticism here. The first type was the dumb one. People who simply hated the fact that gay characters existed in the Once Upon a Time universe. These people weren't engaging with the material critically, but rather just angry at the existence of queerness itself. They were upset because two hot women kissed, which I genuinely cannot wrap my head around. Like, why are you mad that two incredibly hot women are kissing? Now, with any queer storyline in any show or movie, there will always be criticism by people who think that the sole existence of queerness is somehow pushing an agenda. And it's no different here. Everyone expected a level of backlash and meltdown over Ruby and Dorothy's kiss, and of course, it happened. I wasn't going to talk about this because, what's the point anyway? But I remembered this petition from way back when that I just have to share with y'all. I had forgotten about this, but my memory was jogged while writing the script for this video. So in 2016, after the episode aired, I saw a petition from an organization called 1 Million Moms who were very angry about this kiss. And in the petition, they were urging people to call TJ Maxx to pull out sponsorship from the show. I always found that funny. Imagine someone calling TJ Maxx customer service all angry about some random kiss they saw on TV. Thanks to the Wayback Machine, I found the petition. And yeah, people were angry, y'all. In the petition, they said, 1MM knows that Disney has not been wholesome for some time, and once again, they are purposely pushing a gay agenda. Honestly, the showrunners should have just pushed the gay agenda even more and made Swan Queen canon. Just imagine the chaos. Moving on to the other two main criticisms, which I think are much more intertwined and deserve a deeper discussion. These were criticisms of the storyline itself. Specifically that it felt rushed and poorly thought out, as well as concerns that the lesbian storyline was tokenized, as if the writers were just throwing the LGBTQ+ community a bone to make them quiet down. And then obviously there was the issue with Mulan, which is something I'm most interested in talking about. I think the treatment of Mulan is directly connected to how the show generally handled a lot of the characters of color. The Ruby-Dorothy love story all happens in the span of an episode. They meet for the first time, fall in love, get separated, and then reunite and have a happy ending, all in 20 minutes or so. And because of that, it's really hard to see a connection between the two characters. Their conversation in the episode is also very generic, yeah, I'm misunderstood. Oh yes, so am I. Thing gets old really quickly. And it also feels very surface level. The characters never really have a big moment like the other characters have. We never get a Snow hitting Prince Charming moment or Hook and Emma's flirty banter. It's also bland and frankly boring. Outside of this conversation, the girls give each other one longing look with some music in the background, and that's not really enough to sell this relationship. Oh, and they also give each other nicknames.
Wolfie? Kansas?
And since this is a one-off episode, we never get a chance to even see Ruby and Dorothy after they get together. We never get to see their relationship evolve like Hook and Emma's did. It also doesn't help that we barely know anything about Dorothy. Before this, we've only seen Dorothy twice. Once in Season 3, played by a completely different actress. Season 3 Dorothy is timid, young, and low-key, a loser. And then when she reappears in Season 5, she is not only played by a different actress, but also has seemingly gone through a personality transplant. In the 16th episode of the season, we see that Zelina and her still have beef. And now she's a badass and has the generic tough hero personality. In that episode, Zelina kills her friend, the Scarecrow, and she vows that she will defeat her. But that episode is more about Zelina and her relationship with Hades than it is about her, so we barely get to know much about her. Now compare that with Ruby. We know a lot about Ruby. We've seen 2 Ruby-centric episodes. We know that she feels alone in the world because she never got to be around her pack as long as she wanted. She also wasn't able to control her wolf abilities, so she ate her boyfriend by accident. She's a well-rounded character that we've had the time to learn about and follow through with. It's the same with Mulan. While we never see a Mulan-centric episode, we definitely see more of her and her personality when she's assisting Snow and Emma on their journey to get back to Storybrooke in Season 2. When she gets her heart broken later in the season, it stings because we have grown to care for her. All of this is missing with Dorothy. So when you pair her with Ruby, us having an already established relationship with Ruby is doing much more of the heavy lifting in this relationship. It also oftentimes feels like they had the idea for the kiss and just shoehorned whatever and whoever they could into it. Like, how did Mulan and Ruby even get to Oz? Because last we checked, literally a few episodes prior, they were in the Enchanted Forest. The show keeps on telling us that traveling between realms is hard, so how exactly did Mulan and Ruby get to Oz without magic? Well, I have the answer because they had to, so that this storyline would work. Because of the rushed nature of this storyline, many people felt the relationship was token, something the writers and the creators threw at the LGBTQ community just to quell the criticism of queerbaiting. A chunk of the fanbase had hoped that Regina and Emma would end up together, as the two actors shared undeniable chemistry. Over the years, as the characters' relationship evolved, the actors' chemistry got even stronger. And since the show never acknowledged this, people accused the show of queerbaiting, although I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think the writers ever intended for Emma and Regina to have that kind of tension. The actresses simply brought it to life naturally. And it all just felt very queer. They just never acknowledged it, and we all just kept gravitating towards that tension, and so many fans openly expressed their desire for Swan Queen to become canon. So when the new relationship with Ruby and Dorothy was introduced, some felt it was a response to the queerbaiting accusations. And honestly, two things can be true at once. Maybe the creators genuinely wanted to include a queer romance in the show, and also wanted to quiet down some of those queerbaiting accusations. Another point of criticism was how Mulan was in the episode, but she was somehow not a part of the lesbian storyline. People had high hopes after the initial announcement that they were finally going to give Mulan an ending she deserved. When her storyline with Merida ended without them getting together, people thought that maybe she would be paired with Ruby, since they were off doing an adventure together. But nope. She was just pushed to the sidelines. Normally, I would chalk this disappointment to just people being mad that their theories didn't come true, kind of like how it happened lately with the White Lotus. But in this case, I think people had every reason to be disappointed. Of course, people will think the only canonical lesbian character would be involved in the show's first gay storyline. I don't blame people. I don't know where to mention this, so I'm just putting it here like a sidebar. There was an interview published on Entertainment Weekly in 2015 with Amy Manson, who plays Merida, and they directly asked her if Mulan and Merida were gonna be a thing, and she said, "Absolutely not. I was actually on Instagram the other day, and there was some of the fans discussing that. It's better just to say what I know about that, but there's talk within the episode of a past relationship, like you said, but not for my character." And I remember reading this, and like the toxic fan I am, I was convinced that she was lying. The delulu was real. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. So, part of what makes Mulan's presence in this episode especially frustrating is that she's yet another character of color on Once Upon a Time who was pushed to the sidelines. The show has a history of just dropping characters of color because the show just doesn't know what to do with them. Remember Lancelot? In season 2, we find out that he died, and then somehow he's alive in season 5. We see that once he found true love with Guinevere, and then she was cursed by Arthur. Anyway, the last we see of him, he's riding to meet the Lady of the Lake to ask for help with the Dark Swan mess, and then nothing. We never see him again. Similarly, Aladdin and Jasmine made no impact on the show, except granting wishes here and there and then just standing around. Ursula fared a bit better as her story did have a proper ending, but it's kind of funny that they wrapped her storyline up so quickly. At least she got an ending, I guess. Sydney Glass was consistently brought back throughout the show's run, but never really given a substantial arc. Tamara was annoying and was killed right away during the Neverland story. Merlin, I don't even remember what happened to Merlin. He was a tree at one point and then Hook killed him, I think. All these examples, you get the gist, right? So basically Mulan being sidelined like this was disappointing but not surprising. They tried to fix this issue in season 7, but people had already stopped watching by then. I just wish that Mulan got some kind of ending instead of this being the last time we see her. She's just standing there, what a waste. Now that brings me to me. What do I think of this episode? Well, when I first watched it, I was only 15 years old, and the representation starved me, ate it up. But with subsequent rewatches, I've come to kind of dislike this episode. I agree with the criticisms of it being rushed and just awfully paced and written. I also just absolutely despise that Mulan wasn't the one kissing the ladies. I think it's okay if you like this episode, but I don't like it. Especially in this day and age, I don't want to settle for a bland storyline. I hope there's an alternate universe where Ruby and Mulan got together. That'd be nice. For what it's worth, I like that the writers actually took note of all the criticisms and then sort of fixed them for season 7. The lesbian love story between Robin and Alice is actually really sweet, and had the show continued beyond the 7th season, I could see that couple being a big fan favorite. Alright, I think I've covered everything, and that brings me to the end. Once Upon a Time did a gay thing, and the gay thing didn't work. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please like and comment and subscribe. I love Once Upon a Time and I love talking about it, so maybe in the future I'll do more videos on this show. Oh, who am I kidding? I will definitely make more videos about this show.